returning for a Sparks game as well. We ought to have prevailed in this match. The officiating exhibited irregularities. Hold out till the second half is shown. And I've got it all. I brought the proof, you know. This entire game was captured on video. After her Indiana Fever was stolen in full public, Stephanie White had 5 things to say to the WNBA. We didn't receive the phone calls. She wasn't mistaken either, since the last few minutes of that game against the LA Sparks weren't just unfair. They were manipulated. And we can show that with the statistics, the outcry, and the video. Don't worry about it if you don't have NBA TV or Prime Video. We will analyze what transpired with the refs, and I have all of the offensive and defensive plays. I don't understand. Wait, until you see what they did for Kelsey Plum tonight, Breanna Stewart and AJ Wilson. They receive all calls, touch fouls, and other incidents. And you know what occurs? The game's best center is Aaliyah Boston. What happened to her, you ask? She had been in foul trouble the entire season after being called for every touch foul. There was no stopping the Indiana Fever. The Dallas Wings had just been destroyed by them, skipping in the left lane. Instead of making a 3, Howard's right wing drives into the paint. 180-run Fever and off balance counted. With 224 left, it's 90-82. They won their first Commissioner's Cup game by dominating the Minnesota Lynx. She's a closer pass, Kelsey. Cunningham hits after teeing up a left side 3. Portrestos, Sophie. They then thrashed the Las Vegas Aces, the reigning champions, and Asia Wilson. Oh, a catch and shoot from the foul line connects in. It falls from the front of the rim. Rebound Fever number 3. For 3, Mitchell's right wing is open. Cash. 3 victories in a row. 1 was incredibly confident. Additionally, observers and fans anticipated that Indiana will dominate the Los Angeles Sparks even without Caitlin Clark in the starting lineup. But then everything disassembled. Let's discuss who was absent. How could I have just sat through it? What have I just seen? I believe I recently had the last years of my life were cut off. This was a rough, unpleasant game to witness. Additionally, they were defeated by the Sparks squad, who won 5 games. I can tell you now, guys, that one of the indications of coaching, it's not going well for a team that is playing against inferior opponents. Caitlin Clark's groin ailment kept her out of action for the 5th consecutive game. The core of Indiana's attack is her playmaking and court vision. Then, Dantas was unavailable, competing on a global scale. Then the last blow was delivered. Suddenly, Dana Bonner was gone. Leave the team completely. Thus, you no longer have Bonner, Dantas, or Clark. Indiana was still preferred. They had a 72.9% chance of winning, according to ESPN. They were ahead by 6-1-2 points in Vegas. Why? Due to the Sparks' poor performance, one of the league's weakest clubs in the entire season. However, something didn't feel right from the first. Tip. Despite all of their failures, the Fever still possessed exceptional talent. Aaliyah Boston couldn't make the 3, but they were prepared to dominate. A foul is called after Boston's offensive rebound rolls it in. The role that Kelsey Mitchell was playing in a leading position throughout the final game. Mitchell buries a 3 after launching it. Anchoring both ends of the floor was Natasha Howard. The shot from Howard's left hand won't fall. The offensive, rebound, and the return of the stick will. You know, I think Natasha Howard is a lot more agile. How did they lose then? Let's be honest. Missing players wasn't the only problem. It has nothing to do with poor shooting nights. It was not a lack of effort. The officiating was the only thing at stake. 3 of the worst calls I've ever seen occurred throughout this game. I am referring to: they call a jump ball when Sophie Cunningham is taken down by the neck. It would have been a jump ball if the ball was her neck. Kelsey Plum, for example, receives all calls. Additionally, Aari McDonald cannot even approach her. Kelsey Plum intentionally steps on Lexi Hall without getting a foul call, then clings to Aari McDonald's ankle rather than the ball without getting a foul call. First, let's examine the numbers. Boston had 12 rebounds and 23 points at the end. On the inside, she was in charge. On this possession, Boston, Indiana is a touch out of rhythm. Boston puts it in after spinning to the rim. She notices the duplicate and she turns her back on it. The drive to the center is Guadalupe Boston. 66 Arie. Stevens is here to assist. Mitchell made incredible long-range shots and contributed 19 points. 5 to go. Mitchell, get out. Yes, exactly. Boston did an excellent job of letting Mitchell enter her head. Howard almost missed a double-double and went 8 of 11 from the field. Oh, Caitlin Clark, everything. These three were participating in basketball championships. For 3 quarters, they carried the Fever. They were ahead. They were in the lead. The referees, however, had other ideas. Boston continued to receive touch foul calls. The whistle blew even during plays in which she failed to make contact. Then Aaliyah Boston. She didn't touch her, as I mentioned. Throughout the season, they placed her in foul trouble. All they're doing is making calls. This game was made about the referees Aaliyah. Once more, Boston is an all-star athlete. The Sparks were permitted to play tough physical defense in the meantime. No phone calls. They practically seized Sophie Cunningham by the throat. The entire game was a jump ball, not a foul. I was discussing this with Sophie Cunningham. Take a look at this. She actually seized her by the hands. This was referred to as a jump ball because of her neck. Someone walked across and elbowed Lexi Hull. Nothing has changed. It's the 4th quarter, too. Take a look at this. I was annoyed by this one. After giving Lexi Hull a severe elbow, Kelsey Plum deliberately moves over to prevent her from getting up. Lexi Hull finds it hard to believe. It's a foul. There was the referee. In front of her, exactly. And each time Indiana gained momentum, another phantom foul occurred. It was more than simply careless officiating. The referees seemed to be personally invested in Indiana's defeat. Consequently, we arrive at Stephanie White. She is an expert. Always calm, always measured. However, after this one, you could feel the rage, bewilderment, and irritation in her face. White refrained from ranting when questioned about the 4th quarter meltdown. She didn't hold her players accountable. She only uttered 5 words. The calls did not reach us. That was the end of it. There were 5 words that encapsulated every issue with the way this game was handled. White was aware of how hard her crew worked. Despite their lack of manpower, they fought. They ought to have prevailed. An excellent job of carrying out some of their plans. I had some thoughts about, we've been going over those screener activities over the past 2 days, and we weren't particularly disciplined in that regard. But in those instances, I thought they let the game come to them. And we, on the contrary, felt squeezed in those situations, and we didn't really make them work as hard as we could on the defensive end. We forced some forced shots or quick attempts. Yes, we must preserve our paint. However, when the referees continue toss-lanting the floor, when your best player is benched for a foul that she didn't commit, when the officials turn a blind eye while your veteran is strangled on television. This game made it abundantly evident that the WNBA has a severe officiating issue, and this one loss isn't the only one. All season long, this has been taking place. Without a whistle, Caitlin Clark was dragged to the ground, shoved, and hacked. In the meanwhile, celebrities like Kelsey All Night Long, Plum and Brianna Stewart receive touch fouls that are called in their favor. It is impossible to overlook the double standard. Without fixing it, the league runs the risk of losing the respect of players and the trust of fans. Let's turn this now. Despite the fact that this defeat was terrible, it did prove something. The Fever came very close to winning, despite the absence of 3 important players, the referee's bias, and the favorable odds in favor of LA. Boston eyes playing at an MVP level already. Mitchell recently scored her 251st game with the team, trailing only Tama Catchings. When it counts most, Howard, a seasoned leader, continues to perform admirably. And you know what? It's possible that Caitlin Clark will return on Wednesday. Yes, exactly. Clark has participated actively in shootouts, she is near, and this lineup gets spooky when she comes back. Clark's running point. Boston is controlling the paint. Mitchell is striking daggers from a distance. Hall is putting out defensive effort. Howard secures the post. Battle testing has already been done on this team. They've figured out how to succeed without their star. They're also hungry. Desiring retribution. I'm hungry for respect. Want to demonstrate that they deserve to be in the postseason and beyond. The White Stephanie didn't scream. She didn't swear. She offered no justifications. She said it while glancing directly at the league. The calls did not reach us. And if Caitlin Clark returns and this squad is stacked, the WNBA will have a serious issue if they don't pay attention. Tell us in the comments section, Were the Fever robbed by the referees? Did someone rig this game? If you agree with Stephanie White, hit the like button. Don't miss what happens when this team embarks on a revenge tour by subscribing. Because this isn't over, we assure you.